The Honorable Minister in the Ministry of Housing, Science and Robots.
Thank you, Mr. President. To hear PNM talk about trust and lecture us about trust, PNM and trust is an oxymoron. The people do not trust the PNM. That's 2813, April 28. The people do not trust the PNM, 15-0 in Tobago. The people do not trust the PNM. Half a full Queen's Hall for 70th anniversary. No shame to come here and talk trust. The people have dealt with y'all because they do not trust y'all. That contribution by the Honorable Senator from the PNM and all the other contributions from the PNM are not oxymoronic, they're just simply moronic. I have never sat here and heard more nonsense. Imagine a senator quoting from the Constitution, Section 4, and all of a sudden he believes that he leaves out
Mr. President, Standing Order 46-4. The member is using unparliamentary language to describe other members of this chamber.
Just guide me on the language that was used.
Describe contributions as moronic.
Yeah, but is that moronic? I haven't seen that anywhere. Overruled, let's go.
Mr. President, for my honorable colleague, I withdraw the word moronic. It's vacuous, asinine, and ridiculous. The Honorable Senator Foster Cummins, who talked about trust, I do not even trust that the Honorable Senator wrote his own contribution because he was reading there, and we know that he has a proclivity towards plagiarism because while he was reading that, he read the Constitution, Section 4, he quoted all the rights. This document is not designed vacuously.
46.4 and 46.6.
Yeah, I think I want to sustain that. So please, if you want to raise the conduct or you want to raise anything on the put, let's deal with it properly. Cool.
It's just happened to you, but I will move on. That's en passant. But anyway, the honorable senator quoted from the Constitution, Section 4. But just by mistake, he left out the first right. He read and he told us about the right to liberty, to security of the person, enjoyment of property. But he left out the first one, and those who have a copy, take it out. The first right enshrined in this Constitution is Section 4A, the right of the individual to life. But you leave out that and read all sorts of things because that's the dishonesty of the PNM. The right to life. You can disturb me, boy. $500 million cannot make me hot. So now they understand that the dishonesty of them. We are here to debate life. We are here to stop the bloodshed. We are here because of the failure for 10 years of the PNM to institute anything and any institution to keep our people safe. He spoke about the ordinary life in communities that are at risk. What is that ordinary life? Because we live here. I don't know about them, but I live on the ground. I can go anywhere, sit down anywhere at any time, whether Mango Rose up in Malabar, Carapo, down in anywhere down on the train line, and sit down and talk with you. That's what I do. So I don't know what they're talking about. The ordinary life of people in these communities that they are all of a sudden saying that the police presence will be such a dramatic a manifestation of oppression in these communities. They do not understand. People are under oppression right now. They're under siege. They cannot move. They're afraid of their children. They cannot play football in the street like we used to play and stub with toe. They cannot play cricket. They cannot come outside. The gangs have overtaken these, and for anybody to come in the Senate and bring this disingenuous argument that safety and security will stop ordinary life in these communities is not life at all. It is closer to death. And to hear people who live in gated communities behind armed barriers, with security in boot, with community comfort patrol paid for, with armed security driving around, with air horn and CCTV cameras locked away, with police patrol. People who live in those communities saying that people in other communities would not want that. How come? So if you want it, why they wouldn't want it? Why the nurse wouldn't want to walk out on the road and see police officers and see security when she's going to take a car to go for an early morning shift? Why would she not feel secure? Why must she go out there and be afraid? Y'all come here and y'all talk like we inside some air-conditioned building with nice suit, but y'all don't live and talk reality. It was hard to sit down for 3 days and hear some of these arguments. It is so ridiculous to hear the Honorable Senator Foster Cummings of the PNM talking about he was there and he did so much. He gave the children an opportunity to get a $20,000 loan to build a business. Why you didn't take the 20,000 and give them the 500 million? He said people are running down things that are vexatious and frivolous. Yes, frivolous. Corruption, 4.1 million, venture credit union, no procurement, businesses of a man who says he swore on the Bible to take care of the country and he took care of himself and his family, talking to us here about opportunities for the youth. You know how much opportunities the youths could get with $500 million? Then they brought
Mr. President, I rise on Standing Order 46, 4 and 6. The senator is imputed improper motives.
All right. Honorable Senators, I would say that if we want to raise matters concerning the conduct of any member of this House, let us do it properly. Okay? So just be guided.
Thank you. Then we move on to Senator Faris 2.0. Senator Boodoo came to say and talk about the rights, the constitutional rights and the freedoms and the process. Well, I want the 624 people who were victims of murder to read your contribution later this evening. When they could do that, then you could eliminate the number one right, which is the life, and stop the bloodshed. There were 624 murders in 2024, the last full year of your government, and you come in here to preach about what we should do and how we should give the judiciary resources. You are a lawyer. I used to have such great respect for lawyers. I thought lawyers had to be brilliant, amazing, study hard, diligent, analytical. And then I listen to these PNM lawyers, and I know any dum-dum could be a lawyer.
Except on this side.
The law reform zones of special operations, special security, and community development measures, Bill 2026, is not about games. It's about keeping our people safe, keeping our children safe. I now get into some of the contributions from before. The Honorable Senator Candace Jones-Simmons. It's the first time in my life, Honorable Senator, that someone has told me to my face what I am listening to and what I am not hearing. I did not know that. But let me say that I listen to everything, every word and every point. And it's a bit disingenuous for you to tell me what I'm listening to and I'm not. You do not know. You cannot know. So I assure you that I listen to everybody's contribution. They were from, I don't know, I didn't want to say that part, but I would say it because I'm in a good mood. Maybe the Honorable Senator knows what I am listening to while I'm sitting here quietly listening, because maybe she spent too much time in Tobago in a red jersey. Maybe it is that, I do not know. Now, 48 out of 64 years, the Honorable Senator said that we should talk about...
Mr. President, Standing Order 46-6. That is a clear imputation of an improper motive.
No, overrule. Continue, please.
I don't know. They feel like they disturb me. You must know who debated. You could get up and down like Jack in the Box whole day, do squats. Maybe he didn't go in the gym, but he have a time to talk after. But I would also say to the Honorable Senator, you talked about zones of opportunities. But you see, life doesn't begin when a PNM president appoints a president senator and you come here. Life begins when you take interest in what exists. Because if you know about opportunities, you would know that that government, that PNM government, between September 2015 and April 2025, you want to know what opportunities they cut? Let me help you. The PNM cut sport funding from the NPI vote from 140 million down to 10 million. That's less opportunity. They cut Football Pro League, less opportunity, from 18 million down to 3 million annually, less opportunity. National Super League, they cut all the funding for the youths and them to play the football, less opportunity. They cut PAN in schools. They cut Panorama stipend from 1,000 to 500. They cut prize money for PAN. They took PAN man land away from PAN man. They rent PNM Minister building for 50,000 more than what they were renting an ex-man building for. They cut sport camps for 20,000 young children every July, August holidays. They cut that for 8 years. That's a zone of no opportunity. That is PNM. So you see, when you come to debate, you must know what existed, what was there, what opportunities were taken away, and where we are going. They cut funding, they're stopping there now. They cut funding. And those sport camps included the differently abled. If you talk to the differently abled and the communities of Special Olympics, they will cry for those sports camps with great coaches. They cut the sport development officers at the Ministry of Sport. 75 of them used to go around the country teaching, identifying talent, injecting discipline, building self-esteem. They cut that. You are not aware? They cut the sport caravans that were going around between 2010 and 2015 in rural communities looking for talent, coaching, putting science in it. You didn't know that. They cut school feeding from 76,000 breakfasts, and them like breakfasts, but 76,000 breakfasts and 76,000 lunches under Tim Gopi Singh. They cut that down before COVID to 48,000. Them cut food in children's belly, and you come to tell us about opportunity. We are aware, we are involved, and we will fix it. They cut funding to UTT. They cut out programs in UTT. They cut and closed down 5 MIC centers, closed down 6 NESC centers. Were you aware of that? They cut baby milk grant to feed children, right? Baby milk, key generation, cognitive development, fats, lipids, and so on, so they could be intelligent. Them cut that from poor people. So don't come and preach to me about zones of opportunity. The opportunity arrived on April 28th because we got rid of the PNM. We want to diversify the economy. Did you know they closed down THTTI, that's the Hotel Institute? So they want to bring sandals, but there are nobody to walk in the sandals. So it's best we wear slippers. They closed down Nursing Academy in El Socorro. That was built by Kamla Prasad Visesa and transformed by the Ministry of Youth. They 3,200 nurses between 2011 and 2015. They closed that down. Lack of opportunity. They cut food card. Food for people, from 42,000 in September 2015 down to 18,000. You see, you didn't know. I know you might be bored, it might hurt you, but when you come to debate and lecture, you have to research and have information, or else it becomes oppressive and people have trouble listening. But I listen good, you see? I heard everything you said. They shut down Petrotrain, well, all them jobs that went, you know that? So therefore, I would then move on to another point. And I thank my brother, I forget his name, but he's on a blog, Opinion Box. Because the next thing some of you all senators said, but this stigma. These also, if you put security in an area, it will stigmatize the community. Okay. Well, let me read from an article, Sean Douglas, Monday, 24 June 2019. The headline is, Prime Minister in 2019, who was that? Keith Christopher Rowley. He says the Coast Guard will run the Laventille pool. Let's hear what this Honorable PNM Prime Minister said about the people of Laventille. Since this government is trying to protect people, and all of a sudden now, we're going to create, manufacture, endorse, encourage a stigma. Let's read. So the Prime Minister is sitting down there, the former and the former next to each other, right? The Prime Minister said the new Laventille community swimming facility will be run by the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, the Coast Guard, and the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And so it will be secure. Rowley said, Laventille had been so stigmatized by indiscipline and violence that the new pool would within 3 months be taken over by frogs and be full of green water if not properly run. That is a Prime Minister of the PNM talking down to his constituents and telling them that they are no good. They are not worthy to run a pool that is a little cheap 25-meter, 6-lane nonsensical pool, that they're not worthy to run it efficiently. Then he ran it into the ground and frogs went in it because he did not give the resources. That is stigmatization. That is when your leader tells you that you are no good. And what? Because he looked like them? That's the most disingenuous, ridiculous, uninspiring statement made. And that was the PNM. That's what they do. That's how they keep their communities. And now you're saying that me and this government on this side would stigmatize people. We are here to uplift all people, provide opportunity and safety for all, not only some. Rowley continued, it requires management and discipline and inputs from the Defense Force, the Coast Guard, and the Police Service to ensure this is a safe neighborhood. Avoid conflict, said Rowley, and fights, so this would not be an unpleasant place for your children. Rowley promised to instruct Finance Minister Colmember to allocate extra funds to the Defense Force. Where the funds? Zone of opportunity, zone of lies of the PNM. They did not give any funds. The pool has been down for 18 months. Frog in it, the children cannot swim. It was closed on Friday at 4 p.m. till Monday 8 a.m. anyway. So a nonsensical waste of money and games played by PNM or with people's lives. We don't play game with people's lives. We come here to save people's lives. Things not perfect, but we're not allowing people to die just like that. The Prime Minister reckoned he could count on everyone to make sure the water stays clean and the facility is open. I can't read that, I just laugh. And that was a PNM Prime Minister. They have no shame to come here and talk in the Senate. But I could tell you, the United National Congress is powerful, and I know that. I know not only from the victory in the election, I know it because every time I sit down here in the Senate, I see a UNC reject make it to the elite in the PNM one time. We pelt out Lalale, he's a PNM senator. We pelt out Obika, he's a PNM senator. Them never had nobody. So our rejects is them best. That's why they're on that side. Imagine I just sit down and listen to the son of Njak praise the PNM. The son of Njak, Geddes Granger, Macandal Daga, and all the brothers who were fighting for equality of black people. They were fighting against who? PNM. Who was the government from 1956 to 1986 unfettered? PNM. Who was the 1970 Black Power Revolution? Who that was against? PNM. The PNM. And they come in here like they want to rewrite history. I wouldn't bother with him, but I really know why we rejected him. His contribution was quite pathetic. Senator McNish, I would tell you that I agree with you. The PNM is a zone of failure, whether Anaconda, Baghdad, Sleepy Hines, whatever you want to call it, total, complete failure because they are only about policies of superficiality. So we agree. So this is not the be-all and end-all, but as we said, this is a suite of legislation and practices and implementation that we will attack the most heinous criminals, the most heinous oppressive situation. So we agree with you. But the COVID lockdown and so on, yes, that cut down the crime situation, but we do not expect that this will be forever, because as we get involved, as we realize that we have to rebuild the treasury that the PNM vacuum out, They didn't pay their bills, and now they come here to say, we are desperate to generate revenue, when all over every ministry you see, $1 billion wasn't paid here, 450 million here, 850 million. We will handle that, and simultaneously, we will recoup money to invest in young people and give them the opportunities that were taken away from them by the PNM. Well, Senator Dan Ball, I know they have a virus going around, but the virus brought the PNM even lower down because they brought Senator Boodoo to replace him. But Senator Dan Paul was a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance and a Minister of Finance for Akobo Sweat for 1 month. But yes, he came here and regaled us with a fantasy about Dudas and the IMF, and that this was somehow, some way, a methodology to bring in the IMF. It is so nonsensical, so fantastical. You should have go movie, tongue and paper to watch Avatar rather than to come here and talk that kind of nonsense. He talked about 2011 statistics, but we in 2026. That is the PNM. They are back in times. Them still believe Dr. Williams alive. He implied that a central hotspot, but it wouldn't happen. Wherever the hotspot is, wherever is needed, wherever citizens need safety and security, and they are crying out for it, they will get it because everybody deserves it. Well, I love carnival, I love mass, I love pan. As a Douglas, I don't have too much rhythm all the time, but that's okay, because the African partners go to the base and the Indian partners go to the heights, and sometimes you get confused, but that's okay. Carnival is about everybody. But to hear Senator Dan Paul, who I never see no carnival ban no way, telling me that the all-inclusive experience led to people coming down the hills to rob people is abject, total fallacy, nonsense, and concoction. He then tell me about some rapper called Furious Five. I don't know where he came out from at that time. Senator Michael de Labastide. So, I heard you and you said you like debate. So I too like debate. And you came out quite scathing. It looked like your feelings were hurt by the words of the Honorable Prime Minister. And you took great offense. And you came out to ridicule the Honorable Prime Minister in your contribution and laugh at some of the words he used. But let me assure you, first and foremost, sir, that the Honorable Prime Minister has a mandate from the people of Trinidad and Tobago. She received, in order to take care of this country and to promote her policy for safety, security, and economic diversification, 358,000 votes. With all due respect, sir, you were selected by a PNM president and you did not get any mandate. You were selected by one human being. You cannot believe for a moment that a prime minister who has the endorsement of 358,000...
Mr. President, Standing Order 46.8.
I don't think we should bring the president into our debate. Okay.
I agree, sir, because the president will be ashamed that he is a PNM, so I agree with that. I withdraw. So the problem is that we must understand the assignment, because the mere fact that a president senator selected would be so emotional, so hurt, because of some words from a prime minister who has a mandate and whose job it is to ensure that she gets and fulfills her promises made to the people. It shows that somewhere along the line, we've lost the script, we've lost the plot, because if a prime minister brings legislation here on the backs of 358,000 votes, it is quite arrogant for one person or 9 people selected by one person to believe that there is some sort of equity in a democracy. And if you read the Constitution and every institution that we have, the preponderance of power and essence of legitimacy comes from the mandate of the people. The voice of the people is the voice of God, and the voice of the people says, we elect Kamala to keep us safe. We elect the member for Superior to keep us safe. So anyone who does not have the maturity to understand that. Hear those words, listen to them, absorb them, and not get emotional. Then maybe you have taken a position that you're not suited for. And just let's be clear, because there was a statement being made that the president's senators are somehow independent. No, 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 no. There's only 2 presidents that were active politicians in our history where there was a vote or it was a contest. That was A.N.R. Robinson and the now president. This president was elected only by the votes of the PNM. All others, from Ellis Clark, Noor Hassan Ali, George Maxwell Richards, Anthony Carmona, Paula May Weeks, were unanimously selected by the Electoral College, and therefore an impression or a perception of impartiality was there. But that does not exist in this case. This case, it was a partisan vote. One side voted for the president and one side voted for Israel Khan, who lost. So to think that somehow the principles of apparent bias, conflict of interest, and so on fail to apply because you all determined that it doesn't, doesn't sit well with me. The principles apply to any and everyone. And if you are selected by someone who has a proclivity or affiliation or an intimacy with one side, it is reasonable to think that you too may have that. You may not actually, but we're not talking about actual bias. We're talking about apparent. And then if we go further, we could even investigate actual. So if an honorable prime minister makes this point,
for the first time in the entire time that I have been in this Senate, I wish to take a point of order. In fact, several. Section 46.4, Section 46.6, Section 46.7. Not only, I think the most opposite one is 46.6. No senator shall make an imputation of improper motives against any member or an offensive reference to a member's private affairs. There's a clear imputation of an improper motive on the part of one of the independent senators on this bench, and I think that that is out of order, and I ask you, Honorable President, to direct the members speaking accordingly.
All right, I think I want to sustain those points, and I'll ask my colleague to just come back in back.
I forgive the member, she was not here. I'm just responding to a discussion and an argument proffered by the independent senator. I did not impute any improper motive, so I'm not understanding if my English is not clear. I am speaking about simple principles. I'm speaking about simple principles. And Mr. Tight Pants, if your brain is not getting oxygen, you could sit there and be quiet. So we continue.
Please. Let's, hello, I'm on my legs. Please, silence. Let us not get into personal bantering, please. It doesn't help. Please, continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. But the point that I'm making is, Honorable Senator said, for example, that we did not consult. And he went to great pains to say that we were irresponsible, disrespectful, and that we didn't come to consult. But I put it to you, Honorable Senator, that our entire job involved consultation. You are selected. We walked this country for 10 years. We walk the hotspot areas. We talk to people in the thousands. We have consulted for 10 years while the PNM ravaged the treasury and decimated our country and our economy. We have consulted. We have asked the people for their mandate. And the policies of Kamla Prasad Bisesa are based on that. We did not sit for someone to select us out of the Queen's Park Oval to come here to sit down to dictate to others who have walked the ground and have gotten the votes of the people.
Mr. President, I rise to raise Section 42.9 or Rule 42.9, Standing Order 42.9.
Well, after you go clarify. He'll clarify after, no problem. Mr. President.
Yes. Please, stop, please. Stop the crosstalk, please. Yeah. At the end of his statement. At the end of his statement, continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. I mean, some of them who are Attorney General don't even know the standing orders. That's why he brought so much poor legislation that get overturned in the courts every minute. Let me just say, Mr. President, for example, in the last 10 years, and I'm going to talk for myself, if I walked once per week, 3 hours every Saturday, I would touch at least 120 to 150 citizens' hands and speak to them, listen to them. By 52 weeks, that's 7,800 citizens. By 10 years, that's 78,000 citizens, minus some if you repeat meeting somebody twice and so on. At spot meetings, Monday night forum, as the Douglas, the UNC senator, daily interactions by the double stand in the grocery, in the pharmacy. This is at least 3,650 people per year by 10 years. That's another 36,500 people. Functions, fetes, sporting events, 1 per month, 100 people per event times 12 by 10 years, 12,000 more people. A grand total of 126,500 people consulted with, listening to, hearing, and then formulating policy. Press conferences, social media presence, doubles and coffee, interviews, and more thousands of people. So for senators who are selected and we never saw them before to come and attack the government and attack MPs and attack senators and attack politicians, you don't understand our job. I prefer you to come and say, how did you get here? I'm not sure how you got here, but I know how we got here. The people voted for us. And those numbers were just for me, Mr. President. For the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, multiply that by 10. So she has consulted, she has the mandate, and she wants to keep her promise to the people. And Senator Lewis, I make that argument to let you know. It's too much power in the hands of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has asked and earned the right to listen and to impact the people's lives. So for us to sit down, and you always start all of your contributions by saying, I haven't been here long, I have just arrived, I am just here. Kamala Persad-Bissessar has been there for 40 years, walking and talking and working. So please, give a little bit of respect. She didn't reach there by magic. Understand that, because it's very difficult to sit down and listen when you have not walked in the shoes of those who stand here. We could debate, but even now I could see that some of you all getting touchy. But when you all sit down and talk, I didn't jump up on those standing orders because I come to debate. I ain't afraid debate, and I certainly ain't afraid them in the front there. That's why them. The honorable member with a good name, Senator Melanie Roberts-Rajman, said we criticized the PNM methodology in crime fighting. We did no such thing because the PNM had no methodology. Senator John Bates said that we suspend rights in the name of safety and security. Well, that one, I nearly fall off my chair and I was sitting down. I had to listen and read it over, because I thought I took my notes wrong. We suspend rights in the name of safety and security. So when else you should suspend rights? Life. You are alive. I'm looking at you. You are sitting there listening. That's life. Without life, we cannot debate. We cannot live. We cannot look at our children and be proud. This bill here is to protect life. That's all. Don't go into any other old talk, because once you're dead, and it wasn't your former Prime Minister say, who dead? Well, who dead can't debate? As a father, I would suspend, because you also brought up fatherhood and parents, and somebody senators. As a father, I am telling you that I would suspend all the rights of my children to ensure their safety. All. If I want to ensure my children safe, stay home, you ain't going nowhere. No fet, no shopping, even no sport. If it's a risk to your safety, I would do anything and everything to keep my children safe. There would even be no school. If my child was being bullied, I would not send my child to school. So I don't know what we're debating here. This is a bill to keep people safe, to save lives, to stop people from being bullied by criminal gangs that have taken over. You sit down and we lime and we go to cocktail parties, but you do not walk the streets. You do not understand. The people want this. The people want safety. The people want to live as if they're in Goodwood Park, as if they're in Newbury Hill, as if they're in Mary Avenue. They want a security guard. They want community comfort patrol. When the police drive wrong, don't you all feel safe when you see a police car in your neighborhood? You may be outside watering the plants. Don't you feel safe? Already? Hold on. Abuse of power arguments are made. And yes, anywhere power is given, there is the risk of abuse. We saw a possible recent example of that. And we will await the investigation into that. But for the PNM to pretend like only them are upset if police abuse their power, that is ridiculous. Anybody who abuses their power has to be reeled in, has to be monitored. That is a risk and we must mitigate against it. But do not say that we must not keep people safe and keep them alive because there may be some bad police. Well, look in here. Let me shut down the Senate because it have some bad senators of the PNM there, so we should shut it down. There was a former PNM minister who used his power and influence for his family to benefit from over $500 million in contracts. Isn't that an abuse of power? Wherever people get power in over history, there are abuses of power. Another former PNM minister used his power to get rental for his building without the correct approvals. Isn't that an abuse of power? Should we stop all rentals from everybody? Or should we just zone in on those who break the law? There's a teacher in 1969 who had power over the children and used that power to impregnate a girl of school age. What about that? Anywhere there are people who have power, we have to be vigilant. So yes, the police have been given power, but the police already have great power. In 2021, when we saw that video up in Laventille with the gold teeter, there was no state of emergency. There were no special powers, but the police appeared to do everything wrong, and they have to be dealt with, and I believe some were suspended, and that case might be still investigation pending. But of course, anytime to whom much is given, much is expected. So yes, we will have to monitor the police. That is the job of the Commissioner of Police, the PCA, the Ministry of Defense, and so on, of course. But you cannot say that all the police bad, because that's not true. One minute. Ooh. Well, they brought race into this thing. Well, you know, the Douglas don't mind talking race, because I'm a proud African from Tobago by my father, and a proud East Indian, very proud East Indian from my sari-wearing mother. And even when I used to go to stores, but I come from a different place, because I never understood anything about race, because my whole life was just everybody live. And I used to go in stores, and all the clerks and the people helping would ask me, is that your mother? Because she had 3 boys with little afro, and I had hair and thing. And I never understood what they were talking about. But it's only when interacting with the PNM and the superficial race baiting, that I understand what the people were asking me. They could not believe, even though my face is exactly that of my mother's. They could not believe by the texture of my hair and the color of my skin that that was my mother in the sari. And we have to get away from that. We have to live like Douglas. We have to live free of race. This is not about race. This is about safety. This is about our children are dying, stopping the bloodshed. So we ask for your support. We don't beg for it. We don't go to hug up for it, but we ask for it.
Senator Michael de la Massie.